Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Amma ba'da habita fillah, assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A question was asked from one of our brothers, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve us in him, protect us in him, and bless us all with ilm nafi, rizqan tayyib, wa amalan mutaqabbilan. The brother asked, he said, as background to his question, he said, we are teaching some of the books of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, like Al-Wasatiyah. And there are individuals in our halaqat who are coming up and bringing up sources from the internet that they have gathered criticizing Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah and questioning the knowledge that's being imparted from sources that are unknown. So what is a good book for the layperson regarding the science of ilm rijal, knowledge of the narrators, and the principles of jarh wa ta'dil, or these kind of sciences? What is a good book for the laypersons? And should we advise them to study ilm rijal first and take knowledge from these types of individuals, or be critical of them? So first and foremost, it's absolutely imperative to understand that is not a science for the beginner, aslan. So there's contradictions in the question, meaning it is absolutely unthinkable that people who are not students of knowledge, that are laypersons, as you have described, that you would advise them to go study books of jarh wa ta'dil, or books that have to do with the ilm rijal, the sciences of hadith. That is not a beginning science, and that is not a science for the laypersons. So it is absolutely imperative to understand that first and foremost. No way in the world have I, and I have never ever heard of this in my travels and in my limited studies and seeing scholars from around the world, I've never ever heard of such a thing. Secondly, myself, I have never, ever studied, like sat with a scholar and studied ilm rijal. Thirdly, I have never seen it taught in the institutions except for those people who are mutakhassis, those people who specialize in those sciences, or getting a very strong introduction in the sciences of hadith. And again, that's a very complex science. Fourthly, what's very important, as Imam Fawzan stated, and as Imam Abdul Muhsin Al-Abbad has also stated, and you can find these statements in cyberspace, but in English, translated, where they were asked about the science of ilm jarh wa ta'dil. Is this the same as, is this something we're practicing now? And they both said, and to make the paraphrase of what they said, no, that this science ended with the death of the narrators of hadith, meaning what? At least 1,000 years ago. So that shows us that is a very important science for the preservation of Islam. But this is ilm al-kifaya, or fard al-kifaya, meaning as long as there is a group of people of knowledge in the ummah who know and understand this science, then there is no sin on the rest of the ummah. Not everyone has to know this science. This is an intricate science, and it's a wasila, it's a means to preserving the religion of Islam, and a means to other sciences, and that is the preservation of hadith. The next point I want to mention, and I've asked some mashayikh about this because it's a very controversial thing, because we know that some of our scholars, that they believe that this science is really the same, that there's no difference between it and criticizing someone, criticizing individuals, meaning criticizing individuals, that jarh wa ta'dil is the same as when you are refuting Yasser Qadi for his mistakes, or refuting Nu'man Ali Khan. These are just names I just threw out. Or whoever. Or some other Hariki or something, Safar Hawali or Salman Ouda or someone like this. May Allah guide them all. And as Imam Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad, as Imam Salih bin Fawzan, as Ghayrihim Kathir have pointed out, no, this is not the same. And there is a list. This actually requires probably some research to really come strong and get into the details of why not. But just from a few points we can look at is that, can we say the criticism like of Imam Bukhari in authenticating hadith and Imam Muslim وغيرهم كثير from Ahl Hadith is the same as criticizing individuals and refuting individuals? And is the level of adala and trustworthiness and all of those dhawabit of jarh wa ta'dil, of the science of criticizing narrators, can you apply that to individuals now? Meaning, a lot of the people who are very busy in claiming jarh wa ta'dil and involving themselves in something which is not really jarh wa ta'dil, but it is criticizing individuals, it is refuting individuals. There are many of them who have proven they have no adala. They are perennial liars. I didn't say liars. I said perennial liars, meaning they have maybe hundreds of documented lies, and some of the people have documented them. Then there's another group also from, who push this idea that you're using those same exact dhawabit for the regular Muslim, that some of them are also perennial zanis, meaning they commit adultery, not that they fell into it once or twice and they made tawbah, but some of them are annual and reciprocal zanis. They just do it on a cycle. Wallahu musta'an. And very extreme scenarios from certain individuals, may Allah guide us in them, which undermine their whole premise that it's the exact same, because none of them, and most of us, would not even begin to fit that criterion, and we wouldn't even be able to hardly practice our Islam. There would be no refutations, but now people write 25-page refutations for one statement of someone based on we don't know what, on their desires. So my point is, be very careful. Don't even think about opening that door up, especially with laypersons. Teach the books. If they don't want to accept it, they don't have to accept it. Your job is to give them balagh, is to give them the knowledge, impart the ilm. And I want to end with one statement you can give them, if they are even inclined towards following the Salaf. Go back to the statement of Imam Ibn Sirin, rahmatullah alayhi, rahmatin wasiya. And what did he say? He said, Inna hadha al-ilm deen. Fanduru amman takhuduna deenakum. Imam Ibn Sirin, rahmatullah alayhi, rahmatin wasiya. And I believe he was a tabi'i. Tabi or itba' tabi, from the first 3 generations from our Salaf. And he said, verily this knowledge is deen. It's deen. So look to those you take your deen from, or you take your deen from. So that lets us know that when we are shopping on the internet for individuals to listen to, that we should be very cautious. And it is important to know something about the individual, to know something about the background of their studies. And hopefully the people who are shopping, that they listen and they have some background to be able to make some assessments. Because there are many people who sound good, but that are actually radical, extremist, takfiris. And there are many people who make you smile and laugh, and they are progressive people who throw away a lot of Islam, throw away a lot of the main foundation principles. So it's very important to have tools to be able to distinguish. And that is one of the important things, is that it is perfectly permissible for you to ask who your teacher is, someone that you begin to trust or what have you, and ask them, where did they study and who did they take their knowledge from? And if you have tools, you can also look to see what they say and put it on a scale with major scholars, major mountains of knowledge. And that takes a little bit more talab, a little bit more seeking of knowledge. So it's very important that you do not busy the people with that kind of stuff at all, that you do not point them to any books of Jarh wa Ta'deel, because that is not for a layperson. I've never heard of it in my lifetime, that layperson should be involved in that science. In fact, many tulab al-ilm are not involved in that science. I know lots and countless ones who graduated from Islamic institutions as well as Marakis al-Sunnah that have not spent significant time studying those sciences. That is for those mutakhassisin, from mashayikh and students of knowledge who specialize in that science. For example, a lot of the graduates from Jam Islamiyah, this is just an example, that their specialty is hadith. And we can name many names. I can name 3 right off. Well, I can name a ton. I know a lot that are imams now in Philly and imams in New York and stuff. And the ones that I really respect, for example, Muhammad Munir, Sheikh Tahir Wyatt, Shadid Muhammad also is a graduate of Kulliyat Hadith. And those people have specialized. That's what they devoted. And then so many PhD holders as well. Dr. Farouk and Dr. Farouk Post and others. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve them. So again, this is specialty knowledge. So not everyone is too involved in that, and you need to understand this. I want you to understand this. I know this is controversial, and I know there's going to be a possible backlash from those people who hold the other view, but I don't know where that validity is, even though they take it from certain scholars that push that. But the science, how can you apply that to our daily interactions? That is a science for hadith. Doesn't mean all of the dawabit are thrown away, no. But we are not looking at the same kind of trustworthiness and adala and thiqat and the trustworthy people as the Salaf were in collecting hadith and preserving the hadith sciences. So you need to be very careful about trying to apply that to the people. Just because you like me, maybe, or you like so-and-so, and then you think he's trustworthy, and that you don't know anything about my dhabt, about my precision. You don't know anything about even my adala. You know from the internet. You don't know how trustworthy I am. You don't know any of those things. How in the world can you say, well, he said da-da-da-da-da? And I could, I'm not trying to belittle myself, but I'm just showing to the point is trying to apply that exact science to individuals has immense problems with trying to do that. And alhamdulillah, our giants of knowledge, some of them have spoken about this because they've been asked about this, like Imam Fawzan, and I would advise you to go find his speech, and Imam Abdul Muhsin Al-Abbad. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad.